Hey, welcome to the exchange. Let's talk student loans. So, student loans are a large part of the U.S. debt markets right now. I don't think people realize how big they actually are as a total part of the debt market. So, right now in the U.S., we have roughly $15 trillion of debt. This is mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, etc., and student loans as well too. So, I pulled this chart here. This is non-housing debt. So, non-housing debt basically means non-mortgage debt. So, this is non-mortgage backed debt. What you see right here is this top part of the red is student loans. The very bottom is auto loans. The very middle with the yellow is credit cards. And the other part there, that's usually personal loans, etc. It's a small part of the U.S. Debt markets overall. But you really can see here is the student loan market is absolutely massive. And it's grown a lot since 2010. We've seen this massive just spike. So look at the slope of the line right here. You can see student loans have grown. Actually, look at the data. 6 times faster than the U.S. economy, and that growth rate is not sustainable for the near and medium term. I mean, eventually student loans will become just even they're already larger than the auto market, the credit card market. I mean, it's just a massive economy within the student loan market right now. And so student loans, they used to be privately backed or federally backed. Now majority are vastly federally backed. So right now it's 92% are federal and 8% are private. The reason behind that in 2010, actually as part of the ACA, they actually changed the law. So in the previous pre-2010 era, it was basically a bank would front some money, the government would actually basically certify the loan in case of defaults against the loss of principal, and then from there the bank would loan the money to students. They have a service provider that would actually like a Navient or somebody else or Great Lakes come and actually service that debt load. That actually changed in 2010. So basically what happened is the U.S. federal government actually monopolize or can basically centralize all student loans. And basically what happens is they actually raise the debt internally, issue the loans to students directly via Department of Education, and then from there they actually service it through the various service providers and everything else too. That's what makes student loans very dangerous because it's non-collateralized. And what I mean by collateral is there's no foreclosure on it. So if you default or if you come in student loans you can't pay anymore, you don't just walk away from your house, walk away from your car. Student loans are one of those things that sticks with you for life until you pay off that debt or have some kind of legal agreement with the U.S. government there. That's what makes them so dangerous too, because like getting our student loans over your head as a debtor is going to be very, very challenging. So that's why I think looking at the growth rate here and looking at who is affecting, it's going to cause this potentially loss of purchasing power down the road, purchasing life events like buying a house, buying a car, getting married, etc. Even just credit checks overall. So that's really what the challenge is here, and the growth rate here is just what's crazy is from 2010 you can see let's look at 2010 right here. You see auto loans at 0.71 trillion, not bad at all. Student loans almost matched that at 0.78 trillion dollars. Credit cards about the same thing, but you see nowadays the actual slope of these lines are absolutely huge. The good news, though, in COVID era, we actually have a small decrease in credit card debts overall too. So you see the actual drop off right here of the orange line, which is fantastic news. Basically, the actual part of debt that is credit cards is actually going quite a bit. Auto loans have been almost steady the entire time. That's part of it too. Is we have like lesser quantity of vehicles, but also prices going up. So probably loan value itself is going up too, and that's why you see kind of a linear, basic growth rate right there. I also want to look at this right here. This is personal household, or basically debt service payments as a part of household disposable income. Basically means of the disposable income you have that's not tied to other parts, basically other auto pays or other parts of your mortgage, etc. How much of that debt service payments actually come to potentially is available for servicing this debt. You saw right here this big drop off right here, and really what that is, it's not auto loans, it's not credit cards, it's student loans. That's where this drop off comes from. It's student loans increasing in wages overall. We're seeing right there. So as student loans dropped off, we see kind of really a spike. So as this dropped off, you see student loans, basically come off people's, month-to-month income statements, and all of a sudden you see this big spikes right here. Those probably are auto loans or credit card debt. As it kind of swings up and down, it won't be a smooth ride down. It'll become somewhat bumpy. The issue we're going to have though is this number is going to rise, in May 1st, or even we're saying this really the numbers this summer are going to rise. So this number might hit, back to pre-19, 2018, 2019 levels, and then from there, the question is it going to keep rising potentially past 10% historically, or is it going to go like 11% potentially? That's one question we do not know the answer to. And if that happens, though, all of a sudden Americans get more cash tight, more constricted, and all of a sudden you're going to see it in the entire U.S. economy, from auto sales to grocery stores to just overall streaming platform, monthly fees, etc. So this is one of those things. If we don't fix this problem in the long term, we're going to have long term issues. But in the short term, we could be on a cash crunch, which could be a major challenge going forward. I also pulled up this chart. It's really interesting. This is the personal savings rate. This is from the Fed. So you see right here, we had roughly about 7% personal savings rate pre-COVID, massive spike. And you saw this from the stimulus checks, child tax credits, etc. And really these spikes align with the actual stimulus checks coming in. It shows you how most people month to month are living really on no money, basically. That's what makes this economy so dangerous, is that you take away either the cash coming in or you have a headwind like student loans coming in. All of a sudden, we're going to be in a very tough spot here too. What it shows you too also is that most Americans are not saving to be, basically right now we're not in a risk adverse stage of the economic cycle, so most Americans are not saving like that too. And the problem is going to happen though when May 1st hits. All of a sudden those principal balance, interest balance are start coming due. We're going to have huge issues potentially if some Americans can't pay. We're going to probably see uptick in default rates to auto loans and potential evictions too. But then across the board, we're going to see a drop in consumer spending, which is, we know it's going to happen though, but the big fear is how bad is it going to be and how much is it going to actually affect. But going back to this first chart here, I just want to look at here is the slopes of these lines here. So right now it's doubling for student loans roughly every 10 to 12 years. So I mean, we're going to look at 2030, 2031, 32 time frame. I mean, this is going to be a $3.5 trillion problem we're going to have with student loans. And the question is, hey, when's that eventually going to get fixed? Yeah, I also do want to talk with the actual solutions going forward too for student loans. And the solutions really are complex, we're going to see. So if you didn't know right now, so the student loan right now, if we have interest payments go to 0% or cap it at 1% or 2%, right now the extra student loan payment or student loan program as a whole for the federal government is actually not profitable. So they have roughly 80 to $100 billion of interest of principal payments coming in. Of that, about 20% is going to be roughly, or $20 billion going to be roughly in the interest payments going forward. And so interest payments are a complex thing. So interest payments or interest prices or APR prices are based on usually a May 10-year bond offering. And there's a set spread there too. I actually pulled it up on my phone. So Stafford undergraduates, it's a 2.05% spread. For Stafford graduate loans, it's a 3.6% spread. For Grad Plus loans, it's a 4.6% spread, and for Parent Plus loans, it's a 4.6% spread as well too. So the issue we have there is if we drop these spreads down, let's say drop them down to 1% above the 10-year bond rate, obviously it's going to be better for consumers. It's going to hurt the federal government because everybody's going to absorb more of those costs on the back end. And their costs really are, I mean, they're very serious though too. So like, the loan service providers like your Navient, like a Great Lakes, etc. They get a fixed price per loan on their books. So if they have a million loans, they get a fixed price, and that becomes their revenue they use, and that's what they use to actually manage the actual loan. So they don't really care how big or small your balance is. They're not really the bad guys in this situation because they're just basically managing your loans, and like they're trying to get their, it's a flat fixed fee. So their whole goal is, hey, get loans on the books that way we can get the flat fixed fee. But really, I think the long-term solution here might be, it's a complex one, but there's a lot of predatory for-profit colleges out there, and there's a lot of other things that it potentially could be harmful for debtors. And the issue I think we have here is education, especially financial education, is really tough right now. So student loans are the one place you can go to where you can really walk in, get a $50,000 loan for education at 18 years old. I mean, if you want to do like a business startup or getting any kind of funding for anything else, it is much more complex. Where student loans, that's the issue there, is being federally basically guaranteed to everybody, which the flip side there is if we do not guarantee it, if we start doing more selective loans, we're going to have basically further wealth inequality, racial divides across this country more than we already have. So that's the issue we have there. And this idea of looking at the college, basically college business as a whole in the past 50 plus years, it has grown very fast. I mean, tuition rates have far outpaced economic growth or inflation or whatever it might be. I mean, it's rising year over year. So what I fear is we're going to have potentially later this decade, early 2030s, is really an upper class kind of elite kind of college, like make your bachelor's degree to the point where it's like it's going to be basically a barrier to entry for some of these job levels, job skills you're going to have. It's almost a way to potentially divide the country a little bit further. And I think most colleges, most universities actually do know that though too. So the issue there, it's not an easy fix. You can't just turn off the student loan pipeline and all of a sudden be like, hey, we're saving people money now. But then you cause racial inequalities and racial disparities down the road and wealth inequality issues down the road. And then for the colleges themselves though too, I mean, they are business to some degree. So I mean, they want to make sure the pipelines are on, and their idea and their whole goal is to provide the highest quality education they possibly can, provide support, provide the resources like the gyms and everything else too, in the nice dorms. And that costs money. It's not cheap. Like, I mean, they are a very, asset heavy business going forward. So it's one of those things where they can't charge a low price Also, if you want to attract the highest quality professors too, it's going to be a high price situation there too. So, hey, again, let me know your thoughts. This is a tough problem to solve. But my big fear, again, is May 1st, we're going to have potentially a strong headwind for the U.S. economy. But we'll see what happens going forward. But yeah, subscribe and let me know your thoughts.